last video on my channel, I left you with a mood board, a quiet hint at the themes that were going to take shape in this piece. In the previous video, we saw how the entire base was prepared, the colors decided, and the patterns painted in place. Today, we pick up right there, with placing the motif on top. The primary motif we are going to work with today is an ode to the South Indian reverse glass painting tradition. Around the same time that ateliers down south were producing gold-laden tanjore paintings of gods and saints, the reverse glass technique arrived through European influence and quietly broke the mold. At the heart of the box are two portraits. One is a traditional South Indian reverse glass painting, a woman holding a veena, serene and devotional. The other is a royal portrait of Rani Mudai of Coorg, painted in 1830 in the company style, now housed in the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. Unfortunately, I don't have footage of me painting the reverse glass portrait. It was painted earlier, in exactly the same manner as I'm painting the Rani's portrait here, layer by layer with some attention to form and ornament. I'm painting on fine archival quality watercolor paper with acrylic paints, drawn to the richness of her costume, her ornaments, and intensity of the direct gaze. The original portrait sits quietly on a beige background, but here I'm filling in the background too, to create a rich contrast that highlights her silhouette. In a way, this box becomes a meeting place between two women from different traditions, different mediums. One devotional and inward, the other royal and resolute. To reimagine the world these two women might have lived in, I have drawn together elements from across time and place. Temple jewelry from the south, brocades from Banaras, Mughal inlay work, and lush botanical motifs from faraway lands. It's a world stitched together by travel and taste. A world where lines blurred, cultures met, and beauty traveled. So the layout is now in place. I know exactly which motif is going to go on which part of the box. I will quickly take a photograph just as a reference so that I have a visual map that will help me build the box from here on. Now it is time to begin the decoupage process. First, we mix the glue. 1 part PVA glue or Fevicol as you know it, with 3 parts of water. As I work, I'll say this. I do hope to make deeper, more detailed process videos in the future. Members only content is something I'm planning where I can teach step by step. But for that to happen, I need this channel to grow to a point where it makes sense for me to invest that kind of time. So if this kind of work speaks to you, please like, share, subscribe, and remember to hit the bell icon so you don't miss what comes next. As I work, I'm moistening the paper to help relax the fibers. This makes it easier to blend the image into the surface of the box. The artwork needs to sit snugly against the wood without any air bubbles. If you get those trapped underneath, they will cause problems as the piece dries later on. The decoupage is now complete. From here on, it's all about refining details. Some of the motifs, as you've seen, were hand-painted, others were photographic prints. I will now work back into them, adding texture, sharpening the whites, deepening the shadows where needed, and of course, bringing in lots of gold. To give the box that final layered richness, it has slowly been building towards. One reason I really love what I do is I get to play with a huge artistic inheritance, whether we realize it or not. This subcontinent of ours has such immense richness in its art and craft traditions. Honestly, it is almost impossible to say where one tradition ends and another begins. Over the centuries, dynasties have changed, rulers have come and gone, but the art, it just kept absorbing and evolving. Miniatures, temple murals, jali work, brocade, paper mache. None of these forms belong to just one community or religion. You will find Mughal emperors commissioning paintings, but the artists were often from Rajput or Deccan courts. The bronzes we now associate with one tradition were sometimes made by unnamed traveling craftsmen, and the luxurious brocades worn by Hindu kings, often woven by Muslim artisans. And that's what I love. Art does not grow in isolation. It grows through exchange, through entanglement even. So when people try to draw neat little lines saying don't use this motif or that is not part of our culture, I feel like we are losing the plot a bit. Because the truth is, our most beautiful works have come from collaboration. That's part of its richness. Now that we have built in the different layers on the box, the final step in the painting process is to blend them. So visually, the different layers start to behave as one. Somewhere around the stage, my carpenter came by and fitted the latch. But of course, I managed to lose that footage. YouTube is wonderful, but it is also hard. Especially when you are juggling with so many layers of work and many hours of footage. Sometimes things just slip through. And with that, we move on to the most important phase, the sealing of the box. I'm usually very meticulous about this stage. But with a decoupage surface like this, it becomes absolutely critical. I start with several layers of dilute waterproof glue Each layer is allowed to dry thoroughly before we apply the next layer. After that, I use a good quality acrylic spray varnish, building it up slowly layer by layer. In all, sometimes we have to cover the project 7 or 8 times in total. This is the final invisible labor, thing that ensures the box doesn't just look beautiful today but survives years of being handled, opened and lived with. So here it is, sealed, finished and finally whole. I do hope you enjoyed watching this, and if you did, do come back next Friday when I'll be uploading something brand new.